Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today we're going to be going over the Gems of War the Horned One event, in which the Nax and King Silenus are added to the game. So let's get into that. Nax. We have a Nax. Brown purples, you will want to use this for a Keeper of Souls later in the game. Earlier on in the game, you'd want to put this into your Drake Rider, so you can get his 100% chance to revive and use him as a bit of a mini tank. But as far as this Nax right here, he is a relatively average troop, nothing too special, but really good if there's ever additional Wildfolk added into the future. He cleanses an ally, gives them 25 to a random skill, and then 2 magic, and it doubles all of this effect if it is a Wildfolk. What this reminds me a lot of is the troop Fenrir, if any of you have been using that. With beasts, it's basically essentially the same thing, except it's a bit more random than that. I do feel like Fenrir's a bit better than this thing. Not only is Fenrir a lower mana cost, he buffs 2 different skills and is consistent in what he does, whereas this thing can be pretty random. Though if this thing was to do magic and it just randomly gives 54 magic to an ally, that would definitely be really good. The only problem right now is every Wildfolk in the game right now doesn't get excessively good benefit from magic. So that kind of gets wasted, a good majority of that benefit. So not exactly the best. And as far as his traits, that goes even more so into not the best. For an epic, he has absolutely abysmal traits. He has both the bonuses to all of the Wildfolk, and then he has fast trait. With the new legend that just was added, this is pretty much redundant. About half the Wildfolk in the game actually have fast. And this new legend that we're actually about to go open right now, can't really utilize it. It gets wasted a little bit to benefit from him. And of course, we are not going to get it. There are 3 legends in the drop pool right now, so we can get very unlucky here from opening event keys. There's the Bunny Nog, there's the Silent One, and there's the new legend, which we're trying to get right now, obviously. Oh, come on, 2 Bunny Nogs in a row. We better not burn through all these keys trying to get this thing. I know you're in here. I know you're in here. Look at that. Wow. We are 5 legends dry, 200 keys. There we go, finally. Well, we're only going to 1. That's all I needed of him. King Silenus. And of course, let's go over this guy now. He was, of course, the new legend that is in the event key drop pool. As you saw, that took us 200 event keys, so don't expect to get him out of 50, though there is a chance that you can. But since there's 3 legends competing for that slot, you will have to most likely get blocked by one of them at least once. But anyways, what does he do? He deals damage to an enemy, boosted by Wildfolk on the team by a pretty decent boost ratio. It's a 24 total if you're using an entire team of Wildfolk, and that's more than what his base damage even is. That's pretty nice. On top of that, it also does half the damage to adjacents, so kind of like a mini Catches the Bull in a way. And then, most specifically, and probably the biggest thing that's actually beneficial, is burn all enemies. This is now the cheapest troop as far as a casting troop that is capable to burn all enemies. This is Demonstraxia has a 13 at 75%, but it doesn't have a fast trait. So this thing gives all Wildfolk, which includes itself of course, a 50% mana start. One other thing that's really noteworthy about this thing is it has Impervious. So given that it has Impervious, it is going to be really solid on all Impervious teams, of course with all Wildfolk. And the one that I really want to test out, which obviously we just got him, so I haven't been able to test him yet, is his capability with Infernus instead of using a, with Elima Grim instead of a Infernus. Because I know a lot of you normally don't end up having the Infernus for it, so this would actually be a really, really good alternative for it. Other than that, you can use him with Pyromanias, any troop that has a Pyromania. Early on in the game, if you wanted to use him, Lava Elemental would be pretty good synergy, since he has a pretty cheap Pyromania that you can get 2 times skull damage on, and basically just keep hitting them off the 2 times. Plus it gets Stone Skin, so you don't even need to worry if you put like a Keeper of Souls or something for your skull spam to assist it. Would work out pretty well. But anyways, let's go test this guy. Also, I should probably go over Silent One real quick, as you're probably going to get him in trying to get the other troop. It silences all enemies and itself. Essentially, what Silence does is it prevents them from accumulating mana for the entire duration. This is particularly good if you combine it with either a cleanse like a Herdmaster in order to keep spamming this, or you can synergize it with a Queen Mab. Even though they're silenced, like let's say you silence them, they have 14 out of 16 mana. They of course can't accumulate any more mana, and the Queen Mab will do damage based on the mana that they have, even though you can't see what their mana is when they're silenced. It will still do whatever it is. So if they have 14 out of 16, it will still do that full 14 additional damage for that 14 mana that they do indeed have. So pretty good synergy. It does have Water Link, which is about its only really good thing. Its other two traits are mostly redundant. Its final trait does allow a silence, but generally the ability itself is enough silence to take care of it all. So let's go and use this thing in a bunch of teams. We do have a couple set up. Actually, before I do, a few things I should probably go over. The actual events, we get all 10% to Pansvale and 10% to Wildfolk. We're going to be messing around with that a bit. One of the other things I wanted to go show real quick is the bonus gold when using a Nax and Explore. This is pretty straightforward. You basically just use a triple team of any kind of triple team you want to use within your Explore, and then you just throw a random Nax into the team. Is it worth doing this? Not really, but let's just go to Pansvale. Actually, Pansvale is probably the worst place to go since it has the bonuses. Oh, well, we're already here. But let's go and switch down to that team right over here. Explore Gold. Valkyrie, Rowan, Siren. Figured since Siren has the bonus this week, might as well go back with the classics. This is one of the budget teams that I generally used to use, though don't anymore due to Bombot thing. But it's relatively cheap. Everything on it's relatively straightforward to get. Siren's just a rare that you can get the trait stones for. You probably already got the trait stones for it 2 weeks ago when the Dragon event was around. Valkyrie is another rare that most people end up using. Rowan doesn't need any traits, and you get her for free from completing out Forest of Thorns. So really easy team to end up creating, and you can get 1 or 2 cast Rowans to kill them out. You can get 1 cast if you happen to have a super high armored Rowan, or it'll take 2 casts if you are more of a early to mid game player. But really cheap. It's just 2 rares with the free epic you get from Forest of Thorns questline. So yeah, that's basically what you can do to go farm up a bunch of that gold. Personally, I feel like just playing PvP would probably be better off, but if you wanted to farm gold that way, that is an option this week. Other than that, of course, the new legends, where you just end up getting it. It's in event keys this week only, then it won't be in the drop pool for about a month. So if you want to get this guy, get him this week off event keys. Just keep in mind that there are 3 legends, so that your chance of getting him is relatively low. Just be mindful of that. And now there's an Elwyn. We need to go kill a bunch of purple in PvP for rewards of mostly gems this week, which is always nice. That's about 90 gems and 8 gem keys. Pretty solid. Elwyn is pretty useless. If I'm not mistaken, he is the only troop in the game with Face Slayer, though, as odd as that may be. So he does have a very slight possible option as being used as a wisp counter if you truly wanted to attempt that. I wouldn't bother, but he can do that if you truly wanted to. His ability is pretty lackluster. It doesn't really do much. There's plenty of other troops that do way better than him, so you don't need to pay attention. But let's go kill a bunch of things. Also, the new mythic is still in the drop pool if you want to get him. So let's go and just get into a battle or two. So first things first, I obviously want to try one of the most obvious teams to use with this guy, and that is replacing Infernus with the troop we just got. And I already completely forgot his name. I know it starts with King, so that's a good start. There we go. So let's go get him in. We gotta do this. I can't not do this. So let's go see what we can do with a loop on this. I might need to directly give him mana, though, because he doesn't use the other way. Oh, actually, first things first. Let me go trait this guy. That would kind of help. Let's go level him, trade him, give him everything that he needs to not be absolutely useless as far as stats. So we'll go get him up, get his traits. All the traits. But yeah, Impervious, really solid. He's a really high damage source for a Impervious. They're starting to add some really decent Imperviouses. Like when they added Elmo Grim, it's like, oh whoa, they finally added a really good one. And then they add this thing. It's like, okay, yeah, that works. So yeah, we'll go mess with this, see what we can do with it. I might want to change my banner just a little bit, just so we don't bottleneck his capability of doing anything. So one slight issue that we will have with this is the fact that the only way he can burn is from actually casting. So we do need to make sure we cast with him. I believe I just went right past the banner I'm looking for. I'm looking for yellow-red. If we could figure out where on earth that is. Little cog, come out. We know you're in here. There you are. Okay, so let's go test this, see what it can do. We are protected against a Kraken, so we have double Impervious last slot. there is no way that Kraken is getting through unless it just randomly does it off extra turns, which is always a possibility. But we'll want to make sure, in the best of our ability, that that does not actually happen. So we'll go move that down, get our purples. That will then allow us to start getting everything we need. Before we start going and just going and, you know, doing everything that we can right now, we need to make sure we directly go and place the burn. So for this, we'll want to aim at the Krakens right here. Get that nice little poke. And of course, that burns everything except the one that's immune to the burn. And now we'll just go and do normal Element Grim stuff, which is infinitely loop into the wind. So obviously, we didn't end up getting a full burn from an extra turn, which isn't as efficient as an Infernus, but if you didn't have other options, that is definitely pretty quick, particularly if you haven't fully traded. Should have taken a Skull there. Don't think it's going to even come into play. Nope, we just take it right out. And yes, so is he a option to replace out Infernus with? Definitely. Particularly if you're up against Kraken teams and stuff, it's going to be a really solid last slot to assist those kind of teams. But let's get into another one. Oh gosh, double Wisp Crispy next. Do we need to go take out the guy that does 2 times Skulls to Fae? I'll go bring him out. We will if we have to. But anyways, let's go and test a slightly odd team. But there are very few good Wildfolk in this game. So let me go bring out the King and go a 4 times Wildfolk, most of which, or all of which have a 10% and 20% for any of them from Pan's Veil, which is Savasi in this team, as well as, of course, the King. So yeah, let's go with this, a brown yellow, of course the yellow to get him up quick, the brown to get the Ragnar up quick, both of which, if they surge, will get up instantly. Biggest issue, like I mentioned before, a lot of Wildfolk, about a third of every Wildfolk in the game at this current moment in time, have a 50% fast trait, which does not stack with his ability. So every single one that has this trait on it, it's basically like they don't even have that trait. One nice thing about this though is if you happen to be an early game player, one nice combo that you could do and experiment with is if you don't have any of those traits for a Ragnar, but you happen to be able to fully trait a King Silenus, you can go something in first slot Ragnar, something in second slot King Silenus, and you'd get both of them at half mana. So it's like you have a traded Ragnar without even having a traded Ragnar. So it's kind of nice in that regard, because Ragnar is really important to get that 50% mana so that he can go quickly into his ability to get your entire team rolling. And that's just like an alternative mean that you'll be able to do now if you wanted to try doing that. So let's get into this battle. Might be a little bit annoying with the Queen Mab, but we'll see what happens. Well, great starting board right there. Right into a solid Ragnar start. So I see those browns. I'm actually just going to go for the explosion though. Not really going to care about those immediately. We have a lot of buffs we can do here. Our convert is a blue to purple. So there isn't a need to really throw that down as of this current moment in time. I'm probably just going to buff up our first slot and just go for the one-shot skull strategy. So we'll get that up. He gets a magic buff. Oh, wow. Well, he ends up hitting that twice. The Wisp is playing against us, but luckily there's a gap now, so he won't be able to keep doing that and hit us. But wow, that hit a lot of damage very quick. Alignment we do not have over there. So I think I'm just going to let him take a random skull, or you know what, let me take it. Just move that over. But you do so much out of skulls, I don't really want to leave them for him when we can take such great value from them. So right here, obviously, to get as much damage as we can, we'll want to put that right in the middle. He does, of course, boost ratio based on Wildfolk on the team, so the more we have, the more additional damage he is going to be able to do. Let's go put that onto our first slot. And can we get a convert? No, we still can't get it. Savasi is going to go this entire battle without getting a convert. One interesting thing about Savasi, which is unique particularly to him as of this current moment in time, is he is the only troop in the game that has both a dodge and a mitigation. It has 33% skull resistance, but it also has a 20% chance to dodge. So it is pretty defensive against skulls, slightly even better than a stone skin in a way. Because it has the entire chance to dodge the ability, and then it also has the backup chance of still doing some mitigation that's not as strong as it, but still overall would probably reduce skulls by more damage. But let's go get our ability back up with all the purple right there, and basically just one-shot skull every single time. That's the whole strategy here. It's not really a strategy that gets overly used, but with the limited amount of Wildfolk options we have, it is something that we kind of have to do, because Savasi is one of the few of them, and like a third of Wildfolk, I just said a third earlier too, but a third of Wildfolk do kind of do skull-oriented stuff, so Kind of a little bit hard to mess with all Wildfolk without kind of going all in with that. So we might need to throw this buff on last slot just to make sure it does not die. Yeah, that's pretty much just going to happen here. We need to make sure... Oh, you know what? There's a 50-50 chance it lives or dies. Might just have to take the red mana and hope we get lucky. It doesn't even go into him, though. Never mind. Okay, this could be really bad. Okay, it lives. It's due to the buff we just did, so success. It ended up working out then. Kind of. But, yeah, we're in a bit of a sticky situation here. I guess we take a yellow, get the ability off for some damage, and then kind of go from there. So we'll take a yellow, get a nice fire reacts down. Is that enough boost ratio? That is 18. 18 is that 33, 40, 51. That is short. It does 54 damage. Can we hope that it does enough the following turn? Yeah, as long as... Oh, wait, never mind. We can't even target him. Stealthy. Hello. Hello, Stealthy. Never mind. Well, we'll do that poke. Nothing died yet, so... Or nothing more died, I should say. It looks like it's just going to be Savasi solo at this point. That is not ideal, but it will indeed be a win. He has no way to really take out the Savasi. So we should be perfectly fine going into that. We'll just go move... Yeah, we can't take a skull there. Well, actually, that would be great if he took a move like that. Perfect. We take ourselves a solid skull. And hopefully he'll give us one soon. Don't have any convert. We could go steal even more attack if we just wanted to mitigate it down to absolutely nothing. Savasi is really good in just controlling all of the enemy skull damage. And there we go. 138 with the Savasi. He can get pretty huge. I wouldn't be surprised if we could get him up to 1,000 stat if we try doing that sometime this week. But yeah, definitely a really, really nice legend to use with the new, or with a Element Grim, I should say, not with the new, but other than that, it's basically just going to be Ragnar combos with him if you happen to not have him traded. And yeah, there aren't a excessive amount of options. I should probably go make a, you know what, let's go try a weird team. Let's just make one on the fly to try and mess around with this. So we have this guy. He's going to boost ratio off of every single one of these. I want to keep the Ragnar. I want to try something really weird that I ended up mentioning earlier. Let's go bring out... oh, I completely forget his name because he's so irrelevant of a troop. But I seriously want to try this with a skull spammer. Because I felt like we really needed some kind of skull. Something to put skulls on that board. So let's go try... where's Pansvale? So let's get Pansvale. Yes, we're doing it. We're bringing Elwyn back. I can't remember the last time I've used Elwyn. He is... I don't even know. But let's go put an Elwyn there. And also, I find it funny how he has immune to silence because he plays the guitar thingy. I know that has a proper name. I do not know what it is. And now we need a skull spammer. What do we need that covers the rest? I guess Keeper? Keeper looks fine. No, we need a blue-purple, though there's no skull spammer that is blue-purple. We could put it in the Nax, too. The problem is he doesn't actually create us anything useful. So yeah, we're just going to stick with the initial strategy, which would be Keeper Souls. Get a Keeper in here. Ragnar will get it up. Did I spell Keeper wrong? Oh no, it's because I... There we go. Keeper Souls, and let's go mess with this. So a brown-yellow, get the Ragnar up, feeds into everything. Oh wait, never mind. Actually brown-red now because he's blocking our color. So I gotta switch to a brown-red, get the really quick Ragnar, keep getting the really quick Ragnar, and that will fill up our entire team. We go from there. Sounds like a plan. One other thing that we can end up doing too, that we'll probably explore later, is we can end up using both the two new troops together. And if we happen to get a second one later, we can try using double of this guy with one of the new epic, and then something to fill up their manas. And we could see how viable that would end up working as well. But for the most part, seems relatively average. Of course, I haven't actually gotten to test him extensively since we literally just got him during the key opening. But he still seems pretty solid. The fact that he even has Impervious alone automatically makes him solid. But he definitely has some potential in there. So right here, we're going to want to go and get as much of that skull as we can, as much of that mana, so we can actually tip them all off. Really nice. 1 HP, though, is really bad. Wow. How quickly did you go all the way down? That is insane. I want to get a Keeper off, but my whole strategy just died in seconds. Well, we have a 1 HP keeper. That's all we need to win. Go. We don't have the 2 times the Fey anymore, but we don't need it. That's enough to absolutely obliterate it. Okay, we'll take that down. Now what? Goal, I basically just give to him. Kind of have to let it happen, so we'll throw that down. We still get the slight boost ratio off of it. Not too huge, but... Our explosion. Not much value there. Goal into a purple doesn't actually benefit us much here. And we can't do anything out of the green either. We get purple and green, neither of which do much. I'd rather take a yellow and just poke at him, because I'll reburn and it'll do enough split to kill them. So we can secure 1 kill and then basically almost kill the other. And okay, actually that did a little bit less than I was expecting, but it'll still die in time once we get a Ragnar and then just poke them. So we'll go take that, get full mana. Explode something like a purple, has a pretty wide spread. I think I'm just gonna go for skull though. Nothing we can drop down there, but we can take the green, so we'll do that. Nothing to move over. Oh, ooh. That kind of ruins the board a little bit. I just have to take the explosion. We'll do that. 1 mana off, but we can take it right off the top. For safety's sake, I am going to need to kill the map now. She did get her ability too quick. I was hoping we could just let her die to burn. But we are not going to be able to do that, and he's going to kill our first slot. You got to be kidding me. Is he seriously going to poke that out? Yeah. Oh, he saved his ability. Oh, no. Ooh. Okay. That's not what I wanted him to do. There we go. We got a random skull. Yep, another random skull. Take all the random skulls. There we go. Okay, this should be a win then. Barely, though. Gosh. Yeah, the struggle of not having a lot of Wildfolks is definitely occurring right here. For any of you that don't know, there's basically what used to happen in the what happened in the past is Wildfolk used to have a lot more troops in it than what it currently does. It was eventually made into about 3 different categories of troops. So it was the War Gears, the Rashkin, the little tiger-looking ones, and basically everything else that's currently a Wildfolk. All 3 of them basically used to be Wildfolk, but then they got their own categories. And when they ended up doing that, the synergy in Wildfolk essentially just got completely destroyed. So at this current moment, they tried fixing it slightly by adding more troops, but there are very, very few viable troops under the category. Ragnar's normally the first and only troop that really comes to mind when I hear the word Wildfolk in this game anymore. And it's generally the one that gets used, but he alone cannot carry every team. But yes, the troops definitely have their potential. Him with his Impervious into a Rag is probably the biggest combo, and of course him with Elmagrim. I don't foresee him being used with much else, maybe with the Nax, just so the Nax can help him. The biggest issue I keep finding, though, is the 2 things he works best with, Nax and Ragnar. Both already have the fast trait, so using this legend that gives them essentially fast trait does nothing. So a little bit of redundancy there. Not sure if they're going to readdress that in the future, because there's quite a bit of a conflict there. I'm pretty sure just adding more Wildfolk in the future could probably fix that alone. But anyways, that is the... oh, wait. No, that is not the event. I forgot one thing. How could I forget such a thing? Though anyone who has already checked it probably already see that it's pretty pointless. But the Soul Forge. How could I forget the Soul Forge? So, I actually did forget to do it 1 week. But Soul Forge. What is worth crafting? Nothing. Basically nothing this week. There's only one that some people may consider, which is, well, other than the imps if you want to go get them for collection purposes, but Draculus. Draculus is basically the higher mid-range, I guess, of true damage. It's above the cost of a Tesla and a Crimson Bat, but it's below the cost of the highest cost of something like an Uriali. It also has I believe the lowest, tied at lowest mana cost for a Mythic. But it does true damage to all enemies, basically the exact same as a Crimson Bat, but he ends up gaining life, as in he steals it from the enemy. So if he ends up doing 20 to all enemies like this, he will gain 80 HP, whereas a Crimson Bat would only gain 16 HP. So there's a lot of life gain potential with this guy. Do I personally use him that much these days? Not really. There's a couple teams. Sometimes he gets used with double humility for fun. He's a really fun troop to mess around with. But as far as his viability, if you have Crimson Bat, Tesla, or Yali, you really don't need a Draculus. Those troops are generally good enough that you don't need to bother getting this guy. And as far as everything else currently available, you don't really need to craft it, so I wouldn't really bother wasting your diamonds on anything this week. Personally, I would say keep waiting for the Farish Ra for whenever that comes back around. Farish Ra will help you gain a lot more souls, and is my personal preference for what I would use my diamonds on. The main thing I will actually use them on, mainly because I already have as many Farish Ras as I'll ever need, is I'm waiting for the Autumn Imp, because I still need 2 more copies of them. So if you see an imp you need, definitely go and grab it. They're all seasonal. Winter Imp is December, January. Imp of Love is February, March, and so on and so forth for each of the seasonal imps. They're only available for 2 months, but since they're kind of craftable now, it's a little bit easier to obtain them if you haven't already got them for collection purposes. But anyways, guys, that'll wrap it up for this video. If you guys still have any other questions about the event, anything in general, teams you might want me to see in the future, or just, any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope this was helpful, and have a wonderful week. Goodbye, everyone.